this one, Sadna? Nah, I lived in a lab making this joint. Hours turned to days until it was perfect. Bill's Mafia in the house. It's the Queen City anthem, built on grit and grind. Buffalo style, yeah, one of a kind. Snow falling heavy, but the fire burns bright under them stadium lights. The Mafia ignites, we hold it down, loyal through the pain. Every snap, every hit, it's the charge we sustain. From the fans to the field, it's more than a game. It's a family, a legacy, remember the name.
Charge up the field, let the crowd take flight. Buffalo's heart, shining so bright. Feel the energy under stadium lights. Bills Mafia strong, it's the charge tonight.
Yeah, we hold it down. In the 716. Let's go. From the tailgates lit to the thunderous sound, you can feel the passion when the Bills come around. It's a blue-collar love, built tough and true. From the heart of the city to the red, white, and blue, we bring that heat, even in the cold. With every drive, another story unfolds. It's Buffalo pride, yeah, the Mafia way. Under them lights, we making plays. You feel that? That's Buffalo pride. Every fan, every play, this city rides. We built this together. We'll never fall. Bills Mafia forever. We answer the call. Through the highs and lows, we stay in the fight. Buffalo strong, yeah, the future is bright. Charge up the field, let the crowd take flight. Buffalo's heart, shining so bright. Feel the energy under stadium lights. Bills Mafia strong, it's the charge tonight. Yeah, we hold it down. In the 716. Let's go. Let's go. From the tailgates lit to the thunderous sound, you can feel the passion when the Bills come around. It's a blue-collar love built tough and true. From the heart of the city to the red, white, and blue, we bring that heat, even in the cold. With every drive, another story unfolds. It's Buffalo pride, yeah, the Mafia way. Under them lights, we making plays. You feel that? That's Buffalo pride. Every fan, every play, this city rides. We built this together. We'll never fall. Bills Mafia forever. We answer the call. Through the highs and lows, we stay in the fight. Buffalo strong, yeah, the future is bright. Charge up the field, let the crowd take flight. Buffalo's heart, shining so bright. Feel the energy under stadium lights. Bills Mafia strong, it's the charge tonight. Hot on the mic, bringing it straight from Western New York to the world. This is Charge with Thomas and Sterling. Bills Mafia, stand tall and proud. We got this.
Yo, what is up? It's the Buffalo Media Network. I'm your boy Sterls, got my dog TD over there. We're gonna do some we're gonna tonight's gonna be fun, man. We are going to do our Buffalo Bills mock off season. Okay. We're gonna, and that includes a little mock draft at the end of the show. I mean, we're gonna have a good time, man. But thank you to all of you who are going to tune in and watch us do our thing, man. We really appreciate the support. And I forgot to mention my dog Ian in the background doing his thing, dog. Ian, what up? TD, it's Thursday, bro. And how you living, dog, in the big Rochester?
Well, it's been a rough week, to say the least. Like my life's been a rough couple of weeks, man. Yeah, my wife had a tonsillectomy, and so that was rough because at 35 years old, getting your tonsils removed is generally a lot more difficult than when you're young, and so she had that it was a week ago this past Monday. So
Okay.
we're going on 2 weeks removed from the surgery. But earlier this week, she now is part of the 1 or 2% that basically she almost bled out. Yeah, she had a really, really tough go. She lost like over a liter worth of blood. It was just on one of her sides, there was a blood vessel that was leaking. It was rough. She says just 34. She'll be 35 in a month.
Amen.
But yeah, it was a rough go, but she's okay. She was in the hospital for about 36 hours. They took real good care of her, but she's home. She's doing okay, but it was a bit of a scare.
So as your dog, I would expect you to tell me that. You ain't say nothing. I couldn't pray for her. I couldn't send y'all nothing in the room. Like, F you all the way for that, bro.
I didn't tell almost anybody because I was so barely alive between trying to keep my 2 kids from killing me and being up all hours of the night with the 2 of them. It was rough.
See, you ain't right, bro. You ain't right for that, Ian. You should have said something, dog. You ain't right, bro. You ain't no. We got problems after the show, dog. Well, I hope Jessica's doing all right. Tell her I miss her. She's the best to deal with your ass.
True.
But I'm glad she's doing better. That sucks. But I'm hanging in there, dude. Projects at work, bro. It's been nuts. Crazy, and it just doesn't stop. Don't stop. Black folks ain't supposed to work this hard, bro.
Some things I'm not gonna touch on,
and we're going that way.
Yep.
No, it's all good, man. I'm out here chilling, but you know what? So, Mamacita, she goes, "You wanna go to Milwaukee?" I said, for what?
So what's in Milwaukee?
She goes, for your because my birthday is at the end of the month. She's like, I want to send you to go see the Killers in June in Milwaukee. I'm like, say what? So I might be going to see the Killers, man.
That's awesome.
I love the Killers, bro. I think they're dope. Such a great band. Hot Fuss is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I'm a musician, so for those of you out there, I don't just listen to hip hop. I listen to kind of all kinds of stuff. But anyway, we'll get into all that stuff later. But it's also an exciting time, man, because we get to talk some ball. We get to figure out what the Bills are going to do. Since you're the only white guy on the cast here, you're Brandon Beane. And
I can do that.
I am Thomas Gray or somebody who's African American.
Terrence Gray.
See, you know what I'm saying? He didn't get another job, so he's still.
He did not, unfortunately.
So we're gonna put our collective brains together. We're gonna, first thing first, man. We're gonna do some cutting. We got to cut some players. We're gonna use Spot Track now. We're not going to, account for dead cap. I think we are not capologists here on this show. Okay, we're tryhards, but we're not going to account for dead cap because we're working with them now. We're going to deal with the dead cap in another year. Okay, so these numbers that we're going to give you tonight is just a jump start. Brandon Beane may do some of this. He may not do all of this, but our idea, we talk behind the scenes. We want to create, $40 to $60 million cap, and then from there we're going to do some shopping, kind of see what we can come up with, and then from there we'll kind of do our mock draft. So you ready to do this, bruh?
I'm ready for you.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, before we jump into the Bill stuff, man. There's been so much movement around the league the past few days.
Certainly,
I mean, it feels like every few seconds there's a new news being released. Joey Bosa, we kind of mentioned him probably a month ago. It was rumored that he'd be released, and lo and behold, he was released today. Javon Hargrave was another name that was released. Now, he hasn't been the same, but I still think he's a decent defensive tackle. Christian Kirk was traded today to the Texans for a 7th-round pick. I'm sure there are more notables. Is there any other ones that come to mind for you?
In terms of releases, obviously you got Devontae Adams out there, a wide receiver who I still think has a lot left in the tank. If you watched him last year, I think he would certainly benefit from playing with Josh Allen. Tyler Lockett, a guy that, may not be as fleet of foot as he once was, but toe drag swag, like some of the best. He could absolutely add a downfield threat that the Bills desperately need. You mentioned Joey Bosa. Not a huge fan just because of his injury history, but if he's on a very limited snap count, if I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, but you get him on a very average to fair deal. Maybe we can give that a whirl. And then there's a bunch of guys that are, looking to get out of where they are. DK Metcalf being one that I know a lot. I mean, that was my mention last week. You would ask me if there was a trade that I'd be interested in, and DK was my guy. So obviously I'd be very interested in bringing him in. We know about Myles Garrett. I have pounded the table for Myles Garrett over and over and over again. And so those two are big ones. And then Trey Hendrickson, that came across today. Yeah, right after they already said, goodbye to Sam Hubbard, who decided to retire. So Bengals are now looking to potentially replace both defensive ends in one offseason.
Talk about that DK Metcalf thing, because you made a tweet and it caught fire, and there was some hate in there by Charlie Ghost, which, bro, I mean, come on, dog, like you got to chill out on all that shit. I'm calling you out right now. And some other people, just, what bothers me, TD, is that people like, okay, here we go. The year Stephon Diggs was released, I know, you heard people in the community talk about, oh, that would never happen because that's 29 million dead cap, and it's like, and I understand like there's like logic and things, but in the football world, sometimes, or in sports, sometimes the things that we as analysts or fans or whoever, how you ever want to classify media, they don't always have the heartbeat of the team, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and before we say something stupid or something, people don't understand this or that. Like, I just think we saw Luka Doncic get traded for a bag of beans, basically, right? And AD's out for the season. So, I mean, I just think we need to pause and let people dream, let people have opinions about stuff, and just kind of move on, So talk about your trade proposal there before we continue.
Yeah, I mean, my idea was sending Dalton Kincaid and a 5th round pick for DK Metcalf and a 3rd. I think it's just one of those, you're flipping two guys who are not too far apart from age. DK is only 27, Dalton's 25. He's an old, young tight end, obviously, because he was old when he came in to the league at 23 years old. It was just an idea of getting somebody I think is more of a benefit. You already have a good tight end in Dawson Knox, who I think, as of this point, until if DK, or if Dalton Kincaid changes the narrative and he has a good year, then, I'll eat crow. But at this point, I don't think Dalton Kincaid and and Dawson Knox are that far apart from each other in terms of talent level. And I think what DK Metcalf, right? All these DKs, DK Metcalf presents to this offense with that downfield vertical passing game, really opening up the middle of the field, allowing Josh Allen to not only keep the safeties being honest, but also kind of elongating the defense where they're not going to sit on you. They're not going to creep and sit on the line. That's a huge advantage for Josh, who every once in a while likes to take off and run. There's so many benefits to having, like, people forget, like, having a deep threat, a speedy wide receiver, somebody that can test the secondary. It doesn't just present something in terms of like, oh, you can hit a 50-yard bomb. I mean, that's great. That's fine. Yeah. But the levels to the game that it presents, from the short to intermediate, at the line of scrimmage, or that, that second level, to then really allowing the running game to get affected. Because if you don't have a deep passing game, your running game in essence can also be affected, because they know you're not going to test them. So they can keep creeping up, and that just clogs everything. That literally compacts that secondary into those linebackers, into the defensive line. So I think it's a huge impact as to what that could present for the team. And overall, I just think, at the end of the day, I think that, like, DK Metcalf's stats, I know people are like, oh, well, he's not as good. Look at who he's had as his quarterbacks. Like, if we're being completely fair,
I know.
He had, at the end of Russell Wilson, and Russell's really been terrible, whether it was in Denver or Pittsburgh, and at the end at Seattle. And then he's had Geno Smith, and like, Geno's fine, but Geno and Josh Allen are two worlds apart, right? Like, so imagine having Geno Smith and then going to Josh Allen. You're talking, I mean, oh my God, what could happen with a guy like DK Metcalf? So I just think, could it bite the Bills and Dalton Kincaid could turn into this stud tight end? Certainly. But I think the benefit outweighs what you're losing in totality.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. And, it kind of reminds me of the whole Stephon Diggs thing, to where, Stephon kind of came in, or he played with, decent, okay quarterbacks at best. And then he comes in and has a career year with Josh Allen. John Brown is another one. Cole Beasley, you can throw him in there too. I think you put DK Metcalf in this offense. He's 27 years old. He can attack every level of the field. He's a good route runner, very improved route runner, has a
right.
really, really good double move, how he sets up DBs and stuff like that. To put him in your offense, now you got speed, now you got more power. I mean, it's a slam dunk for me. And I'll be honest with you, like, I would almost rather have a 27-year-old DK Metcalf rather than Myles Garrett. Now, Myles Garrett's great in his own right, don't get me wrong, right. But I would much rather go with the younger player, and then I can kind of, just what we've kind of unearthed with the whole free agency thing and these defensive ends and linemen become available, and then this is a strong draft this year, you could probably get away with, you could do more without doing that big time Myles Garrett move. I mean, I would love it if it happened, but I'm not gonna stay up all night waiting for that news to drop or anything like that. So yeah, man, let's jump into it. So we are going to be using Spot Rack. Okay. So basically TD and I are gonna, we're gonna do cut candidates now. So we're gonna cut some guys, we're gonna free up some space. Ian, we'll tell you who we want to cut. You pull the trigger. You're gonna pull these players in, Ian, and you're gonna tell them that they're no longer needed on the Buffalo Bills. And then we're just kind of piecemeal some cap space, and then we'll go shopping. How about that?
Love it.
All right, so let's first man up. Who are we gonna cut first? Who's up first? All right, I'm looking at the roster right now, and I would say Von Miller is probably the one you want to cut first. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there is a school of thought that I think it really, like, I had seen somebody propose the idea of, what if you wait to do a Von Miller cut till June 1st if Myles Garrett is also not going to get traded till then? Because if you do a post June 1st cut, you save $17.4 million, which is almost the amount of money it would take to sign to bring in Myles Garrett. That would be his cap hit currently for his last year in Cleveland. So I think that's a possibility, but the likelihood that they're going to do that is very minimal. I think, they're going to go to Von Miller and try to get a restructure or a renegotiated deal to bring that cap hit down, because presently his number is 17 million, and that's just ridiculous. Or no, excuse me. Yeah. His cap number is 23 total, but his base salary is 17. So, I mean, it wouldn't stun me if they tried to bring that number down $5-6 million. But if you cut him, you're saving 8.3. Unfortunately, you have that 15 million dead cap, but it's a one-time and you're done.
Yeah.
So if you save 8.3, almost 8.4, that's a big number. And that gets you almost flush to basically where you're basically cap compliant. So definitely, I think that's a good starting point in terms of the Bills. Now, I don't know. I'm not sure if they have the Sam Martin in here. I don't think they put Sam Martin yet in terms of the adjusted. So they might still be, because it's a $1.8 million. They might be at 6.8 now. I don't know if they've adjusted. So let's just say for the sake, they're still at 8.6. That leaves them at about 200,000 shy of being cap compliant.
Yeah. So let's say we got Von Miller, we got Sam Martin here. Jay Camarda is going to be in for a hell of a workload this year. Hope he's ready. So yeah, let's go. Well, the Bills did cut him, so we're going to cut him. Now the extensions, real quick, because that's a really quick way to get some more cap space, right? Now, this is where it kind of gets, I'm not a capologist and I don't pretend to understand how all this works, but let's just say we extend Josh Allen. We do Ed Oliver's contract because he's second. We could restructure that contract. We could probably get some money out of Milano and Knox. So let's say, and we could re-sign Greg. So of those top 6 contracts, we could do 5 of those, right? And we could probably say, let's say we get 30 million, right? So Ian, put on your ledger there that we just kind of created 30 million in extensions, because I think that's something, again, it's not something that I know, how it all works, but I do know that is very possible. And so that might be on the low end of how much money you're going to create there.
You've got 11. If you restructure Josh, but if you extend Josh, you're going to be saving 11.7 million in cap space. If you extend Greg Rousseau, you're going to save about 9.7 million in cap space. So you're looking
20.
at almost 20 million right there, or no, over 20 million. Excuse me.
Okay.
And then if you restructure, you can restructure Ed, Dion, and Taron Johnson. And with that right there, you're talking another $20 million. So that would be 8.7, 9.8, and 3.2. So between those moves right there, you've already cleared $40 million, not including Von Miller, which is 8.7. So you've got about $48 million right there already cleared with those moves, not accounting any other cap cuts. Like, let's say you want to cut Mitch Trubisky because you think Mike White is going to be perfectly fine.
Let's do that.
So if you cut Mitch Trubisky, you're going to save 2.5 million. Right. That puts you at 51.5.
Okay. What about
50.5? Excuse me.
AJ,
and then AJ Epinesa. I don't know if you want to cut him because you end up you're eating more dead cap than you're saving. It's 4.1 in dead, 3.3 in savings. If you're going to talk about somebody to cut, if you think that you can find a running back in the draft, I don't know if they do it, but if you cut James Cook, you save 5.3 million, and the dead cap's only 355,000. You could go that route. I don't know if they do that. They might just run out that year, but
let's do this.
That's a potential.
Let's do this. So when we get to the mock draft, let's trade James Cook and see if we can get a 2nd or 3rd round pick. How about that? So
and then the final one I think you could do, which I think is a good one, is extending Connor McGovern. I think he is in line to be the center for a while, and that would save you 4.2 against the cap as well. So
let's do it.
That puts you at about 55 million in cap space right there.
All right. So we got 55 million. When's the last time the Bills had 55 million in cap space available?
I know. It's quite a bit of room.
Yeah, it's been a long Josh Allen, he was like, very young in the game. So okay, so we're gonna do free agency shopping with 55 million. Okay, so all right, so real quick before we go though, Myles Garrett, are we trading for him, or are we just kind of just going, we're going to do some shopping and we don't need to trade for Myles Garrett? Or because let's say this, we can either have Myles Garrett or DK, or we could just kind of just not trade for any of them and just kind of roll with it. How do you feel about it?
Myles Garrett's a tough one because right now I don't know. I would assume they're going to trade him, and I think a lot of what he's doing is posturing, rightfully so. I think Andrew Berry is trying to hold what level of advantage he has, what kind of standing room he has in this situation, because of the fact that teams know Myles wants out. They know how bad their cap situation is. They know it's one thing if a player has to be traded, but the team is still reasonably good. The Browns are 3 to 5 years from being anything competitive. So Andrew Berry really is not coming from a place of power, right? This is a lose-lose for him. He's losing a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best defensive ends to ever play the game. And he's going to end up taking on some dead cap, and it's going to be unfortunate. The one positive, though, is if he trades him, you're looking at potentially acquiring some good assets in return to help you kind of jumpstart that retool or that rebuild that the Browns so desperately need. So I'm not going to say we're going to trade for either of them because I just don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I think DK DK Metcalf, I think is more of a, how do I say this? I think it's more of John Schneider is going to end up having to just renegotiate or give him more money, like extend him, because I don't know if a team is going to, like, if he's not going to budge on that asking price, like he's not going to cut DK Metcalf, right? Like that's not going to happen. So he's going to have to pay him. Otherwise he's going to walk in a year. And I don't think that's a smart move either. So I think both teams are in a bad position because it's either you let the guys walk or you extend them. And I think like they could still use DK. I think the Seahawks, though they're not, I don't think they're anything close to a Super Bowl contender. They're still they were in the playoffs this year. So like, they're not that far off from being a reasonable team. So I'm going to say we're going to pass on both of them. I don't think it's going to happen reasonably. I just don't think it's a possibility at this moment.
Okay. All right. So let's just go. Let's say we're just going to let them do their thing and they're not going to be part of the equation tonight. And that doesn't mean, that, the Bills don't trade for them in real life, right? Because that's very possible. And we know Brandon Beane's been kicking the tires, unless of what we heard through different channels and so forth. So, all right. So let's go to the free agency list of guys. And I mean, let's talk about our weaknesses. So we have weakness at, we need to upgrade at defensive end. Right. I mean, we've been talking about this all off season. We need a CB2. Yeah, absolutely. We could use another safety, probably, a depth safety. We could use that. What else could we use? Probably 2 wide receivers. Doesn't have to be free agency, but it could be in the draft too. So, 2 wide receivers there. What else? So what? Defensive tackle, maybe tackle. A backup linebacker, defensive end, a wide receiver, cornerback 2, safety. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of holes to be filled. So it is. That's what she said. That's one of those, like, there's a lot of things that really need to be fixed up in terms of the roster. So we got some work ahead of us, but I don't think it's not a tall order. It's just we have to be very mindful as to getting the right guys that fit both scheme and culture, right? Because very seldom are they going to bring in a guy that doesn't fit what they want in terms of like a player personnel type of thing. All right. So is there a defensive end? Let's start with defensive end. Is there, you got guys like Josh Sweat, everybody knows. I mentioned Joey Bosa. I know you're not high on him. So an ideal defensive end candidate, who do you like?
Trey Hendrickson.
So that would involve a trade.
Maybe.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is if they cut Trey Hendrickson, they actually save $16 million. So it's a big cap savings. Obviously, I don't think they'd want to, but if you go ahead, and I'm going to bring this up real quick just for the sake of this. If they bring up, hold on. If they decide to cut him right now, it's $2.6 million in dead cap, $16 million in cap savings. So I don't know if you'd have to trade. Obviously, they'd probably like for you to trade for him. I don't think he'd cost a ton in terms of assets. You might pay a bit of an upcharge because of the fact that it's the Bills, right?
Okay. Yep.
But I think that reasonable minds would say the Bengals are not going to keep him, right? Like they can't. Right. So if they can get something for him, I'm sure that they'd like to get like a reasonable draft pick. So if you can, like, let's say a 5th round pick, that maybe conditionally becomes a 4th or a 3rd, depending on play time.
Right. Because you're going to have to sign him to another contract too.
Right. And his valuation right now is 20. Let's see. His next contract, his value is $28 million. So
Okay.
it's
All right.
going to be expensive. So you're probably looking at, if you, let's say you extend him 2 more years, so you have him for 25, 26, 27, you're probably looking at something to the degree of maybe 3 years, 75 million or something to that effect.
Okay.
I believe. Let me see. That'd be $25 million. That's 25 average. You could probably get, he's 31 years old. I got to see what the actual, see where everybody falls in terms of defensive ends on the marketplace. So, but continue on.
All right. So let's say, so let's say that's the trade we make. So let's say when we do our mock draft, we're going to give him up for a 5th round pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep that in mind. Now we look at other defensive ends. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Obviously, we got Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Khalil Mack. And then there's a few guys that I'm really interested in. Azeez Ojulari. I mean, you talk about guys with burst off the edge. Dayo Odenigbo, 34 combined sacks over the last 2 years. I mean, I would even take a look at, probably Dante Fowler, Marcus Davenport. Now, these are guys that are kind of going down the list here. So let's say we do get Trey Hendrickson, right? I still think we need probably 2 more defensive ends. We could probably get a very low cost free agent, right? And then we can get a draft pick. So if we're looking at low cost free agent, I'm looking at the list here. Azeez Ojulari is probably going to want good money, right? Unless we can get him on a 1-year prove it deal. I don't know. I mean, he's 25 years old, right? Like with a pass rusher with traits that just hasn't really had, a lot of consistency and things working well around him. So I like him, but I don't think he's somebody we should look at. Instead, I think we probably should be looking at guys like Marcus Davenport, right? He's a taller edge rusher. He doesn't play with the best pad level, but I think he's had stretches of production. And we're looking at this guy to be defensive end 3, right? Defensive end 4. I think Marcus Davenport will be good. Is there anybody that you can think of right now?
A couple names that pop out. I mean, I wonder if they'd be interested in bringing back Dwayne Smoot. I think he showed a little bit at times this past year that he was reasonable. Dante Fowler, I don't know what he would cost, but I would definitely say he would definitely add some juice to the defensive end room. And then I've always really loved Carl Lawson. The problem is I don't know what he has left now after he's had that injury. So he was really good in Cincinnati, but I mean, it's been a long time since that happened.
Okay. What about Baron Browning? We think about
Baron Browning is definitely another opportunity. I think, he did really well with the Cardinals this past year. One name I would be interested. I don't know if they bring him back, but Jerry Hughes has just consistently if you could bring him in for 15, 20 snaps a game, just to keep rotating the guys through. I'd love to have him. His edge responsibility is terrific, really good against the run. He doesn't have gaudy sack numbers, but he provides the pressure. And if you could have somebody opposite of Greg who can kind of hem in whatever quarterback, whether it is Greg Rousseau, whether it's Patrick Mahomes or whatever, like having somebody that can kind of like bring the pocket in, and then if you get a defensive tackle like a Kenneth Grant in the draft, you're talking completing that package, right? Like that's full sale what you're looking for. So just a couple names. I think there's some interesting ones like Dayo Mbadengo, I think was a nice one. I really like that. Yeah, Joseph Asai is another good one. That's a kind of interesting name. A lot of these are kind of reclamation projects, right? Lou, it's been a long time since they've been successful. So, it's going to be tough. Like, could you go after a Josh Sweat? Sure. It's going to cost you probably a pretty penny. You could go after like a guy that really hasn't had a lot in Chase Young, but again, I don't know. It just depends on what these guys are going to be asking, because
let me ask you a
these
question,
guys are lacking in.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of guys on here. Are you
going to say Hassan Reddick?
No, God, no. No, okay. Hell no. But they're north of 30. Like, and I know when you at defensive end, you can, age 30 to 33 are really good years for defensive ends, and they can there's still production there. But I mean, you bring in Trey Hendrickson, who's not very young, right? I think he's 30 years old. Greg Rousseau's your young buck. I do think there needs to be an infusion of youth here. So maybe we can get a veteran. So who's our veteran defensive end going to be? We can go with a 30+ age defensive end. Who you got?
Honestly, if we're being like, I think Dante Fowler is
All
probably
right, let's
the
do
dude.
Dante Fowler, right?
31 years old. He's had a pretty consistent year in terms of stats. He had, like, if you're talking sacks, he had 10.5 last year. Then
Okay.
4, 6, 4.5, 3, 11.5, 4, 7.5, 4. Like, not super consistent, but enough where like he's got something as a baseline.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think he'd be again, as a rotational piece.
Sure. Leonard
I think that's
Floyd.
fine.
So let's say we can get him
Exactly.
at $8 million, right? Leonard Floyd was $8 million. I think
Right.
Dante Fowler is going to probably fall in that realm. So
They say his value 6.7. So
okay.
yeah.
All right, so let's say 7, and we'll go with $7 million here. So we get Trey Hendrickson with the 5th round pick. Now we're gonna have to, I would say his cap, he's probably gonna
probably
20?
somewhere between 27 and 30.
Yep. So let's say it takes 20 off of our 55, right? So 20 plus the 8, 28 million. So we were at 55. So we're sitting, 25 million, 27 million right now. Does that sound about right?
It was
33. Okay. All right. So 33 million. So 33 million is what we got working with. So we got our defensive ends taken care of. So let's take a look at the interior of the defensive line, right? I think that's the next thing that we need to look at. When you talk about interior defensive linemen, we know the Bills struggle at defensive tackle. Ed Oliver came on late at the end of the season, as you all know. But I think, we got some holes here. Our 3rd round pick didn't really pan out the way in his first season, the way we wanted him to. And then, I felt like we got guys that just really didn't fit the bill. Daquan Jones, it was just, even though he played just about every game, you just didn't feel the impact, right? So we're in need of a defensive tackle. And looking at this list here, obviously Milton Williams is the top guy, but he's small like Ed Oliver, and I'm not really interested in him. I know he's got some good production, etc. But
I worry about him because who he's surrounded with, if his stats are inflated because of having guys like Jalen Carter around him, having guys like Montez Sweat or Josh Sweat, excuse me, like having those guys insulate him, does that kind of boost his numbers? And we see that a lot of times that guys hit the free agency market and get a huge number and then fall flat because they were really bolstered by some good, and on top of it, it was his free agency year. So, guys play up to that contract.
Right.
So I get a little worried about guys like that.
I think Levon Zaruke is a guy I really like him. Calais Campbell, even though he's 38 years old, but he's still productive, man. Like he's a Denver guy. It's crazy. But I like him. So
Sebastian Joseph Day is a really good option. And so is DJ Jones.
Yep. And Puna Ford be nice, but the Bills.
I don't think we're gonna go down that pathway again.
All right, so let's say we're looking at, so we kind of need two defensive tackles. Okay, so let's say we get a decent, let's say Levi Onwuzurike. I don't think he's going to cost a ton. I think you have to pay.
If there's a guy that I think actually might come here, I think Calais Campbell would be a guy that Buffalo would be really intrigued about. They've looked into him before. He is consistency personified. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year, I believe, if my memory serves me. He is, he's everything that McDermott loves. He's a grinder. He can play. Literally all 3 downs. He can play 1 tech. He can play 3 tech. I think he's the perfect fit for this defense. And I don't think his number.
What's he going to cost? 5 million?
11 million.
11. That's his market at 38.
Yeah, $11 million. Yeah. 10.5 actually. Excuse me.
Let's say we ask him to come in here on a.
You could ask him to come here for 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5 on a 1-year deal. He's going to be 39 this season. So I like him. So let's say we get.
Actually, hold on. He only signed for $2 million this past year. So you could probably get him for 5 to 7 million. So
let's do that.
say
Let's
five
go
and a half.
Let's say five and a half. Let's
Yeah.
go Calais Campbell. Now, right now, he would be, I would say, we need him to be defensive tackle number 3. Like him, and Daquan Jones, I think they can, and a rookie are going to have to battle out for defensive tackle number 2. So we need definitely a 2-gapping defensive tackle with that pick. So I like Calais Campbell. Let's roll with that.
Okay.
BJ Hill does intrigue me. But I think he's going to be a little expensive. You mentioned Sebastian Joseph Day. I do like him, 30, but I still feel like when you watch the film, there's still juice there. So I do think that a couple of these guys will be available probably up until training camp. But to be honest, like you look at guys like BJ Hill, Poona Ford, DJ Jones, these guys don't necessarily, they sign later in the process. So, we can kind of see what we get in the draft, and then we can kind of go sign one of these guys if we need to. So right now we got Trey Hendrickson, right? We took Dante Fowler, and we got Calais Campbell.
Yep.
I think that infusion of talent right there is pretty damn solid. Let's take a look at and while we're on the defense side of the ball, we need a CB2, bro. We need a cornerback, and I don't think we can pay a lot of money for one. Notable names, Carlton Davis, Javarius Ward, who's been a hot name tossed around. Yep. Bills, looking at him. DJ Reed is one of the guys that you mentioned early in the offseason being available. Byron Murphy's probably going to make the most money. He's probably going to make the most money this for cornerbacks in the free agency. I do like Asante Samuel Jr. He's 25 years old, and I just don't know how much he's going to cost, but I check him out. Paulson Adebo. So those are some guys that take a look at. I'll let you pick the cornerback here. Who you thinking is viable?
I think it'd probably be Paulson Adebo just because of his relationship with one of our new defensive coaches. I think he definitely would play well, and he's done very well. Like, he had a really good year with the Saints. Didn't have as good of a year, but he was also injured. So I think he's a good addition. He still has, he proved that he could be like a CB1. So as a CB2, I think he's in a good spot because there's not as much pressure on him to be the guy because Christian Benford's here.
Yeah, he's got 10 total interceptions, 43 pass defense. I haven't looked at his PFF grades, but he's not an overly athletic corner. I remember kind of
it's like Christian Benford.
Yeah, I remember scouting him when he was with Stanford, and I liked what I saw. So yeah, Paulson Adebo will be a solid addition here. We could probably get him. He's 25 years old, so what you can do is you could do a 3 or 4 year deal and kind of backload that contract to keep that cap hit low in the first 2 years.
His value is 1.2. So you could probably get him for pretty cheap right now.
1.2. That's it.
Yeah, that's 1.2 per year.
Man, they're sleeping on Paulson Adebo.
Yeah.
So we gave Taylor Rapp 3 years, $8 million.
I believe that's right. I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's fair. Let's give him the same kind of contract, and we can make it incentive based, right? Where
it was 3 for 10. 3 over 10. Yeah.
Let's do 3 for 10 for him. Because we're asking him basically, and in free agency you're going to have to overpay a little bit. So we do 3 for 10. We're asking him to be CB2. Right, and he's gonna have to compete with a rookie. So I like that. Let's snatch Paulson Adebo.
I like it.
We got Paulson Adebo here, and then I think we definitely need to take a look at wide receiver. Let's see who's available wide receiver now.
A lot of options.
There's a lot of options here.
A lot of options.
Top name on the list: Chris Godwin, 29 years old. Lots of injuries.
One name that I'd be interested to see if they would do is I I do wonder, and hold on a sec. Continue looking at names. I'm gonna see something
Yeah,
numbers
go ahead.
wise before you go.
Chris Godwin plays the slot, so the Bills aren't really looking at him. Devontae Adams is a name that's kind of been floating around. He's kind of been around the block, following Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, but he balled out with the Jets. I mean, I think Devontae would be a nice addition. I don't know how much he costs. Probably, I'm sure he wants to win. He's 32 years old. That to me, man, is. I just don't like old receivers, but
Right.
Amari Cooper, the Bills aren't going to bring him back. Stephon Diggs, not happening. And the Texans basically came out and said, hey, it's got to be like a very low deal. You're coming off that injury, brother. And Stephon posted something about him catching the ball with his quarterback. What's their quarterback's name? I can't. Stroud, CJ Stroud, the other day.
Yep.
So big name that's been floating around is Marquise Brown. He's going to be 28 this year. You talk about speed. I think the Bills need to be looking at speed, right?
So that's where I got two names for you. And ironically enough, they're both from the same team, and that's Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
For trade.
And for trade, correct. Yep. They both have about a $4 million cap hit this year. Rashid Shaheed just came off of a torn ACL. And then Chris Olave has been dealing with, he's got 5 concussions in his career. I think dating back to pros in college. So you're basically banking on that you're going to be able to get them healthy here.
Okay.
Chris Olave is like a bona fide number 1 receiver. And if he's actually able to play, and I mean, his time at Ohio State was unbelievable. He was one of the best wide receivers in the nation. And then Rashid Shaheed is legitimately a burner, like a straight downfield, just tear up the secondary type of wide receiver. I think either one of those would be terrific options. And I don't think it would cost you much to peel either of them off. I don't think the Saints are anything right now. They've got Spencer Rattler. I mean, they've got Derek Carr, but Derek Carr's nothing. He's really nothing. He's kind of awful at this point. And Spencer Rattler, I don't think proved much either. So I think until they tear that thing completely down, I think they're in a bad spot.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know what the market would be. I think if the Saints, they probably will want to keep Rashid Shaheed over Chris Olave. Is more. I mean, Rashid Shaheed has shown more production, and he's got a better injury history.
Yeah.
I think they probably lean towards him now. Chris Olave, man, I do love Chris Olave. He was one of my favorites.
His first 2 years were terrific. He had 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then 1,105.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can blame the guy. Shit, I'd be injured too if I had to play for the Saints and suit up every week for that train show. So compensation-wise for Chris Olave, I mean, you tell me if it's crazy, but what, 2/5 or a 4th?
I don't think it would cost that much for Chris
Olave.
You don't think so? No. I think with his concussions, I think he's going to walk. I mean, he's only got 1 year left. Right now, his cap hit this year is what, $6 million.
Okay.
Right. You can easily sign him, extend him for maybe 2 more years, make it a 3-year deal, or maybe extend him for 1 more year at a void year at the end and just float that money out. You're talking about it's not going to cost you much. I think with his injury history, I mean, you could probably get him for maybe a 6th round pick, 5th round pick at most. I don't think it's going to cost you much to peel him off, because I even though he had his first 2 years with his injury history, they're not going to resign him. They don't have the cap space. I mean, they gave Kamara a fat contract, which was crazy to me. During the season last year. So they're in cap hell, and you're right. So I don't know. Saints have negative $39 million in cap right now.
Jeez, bro. That's
Yep.
crazy. That is wild to me, dog. That is wild to me. Okay. So and I'm writing this stuff down. So because I don't want to forget all of our transactions, Dante Fowler. So right now, in terms of free agency, okay, Brandon Beane is cleaning up, bro. So we're going to get Chris Olave with a 5th round pick, and we're getting Trey Henderson with a 5th round pick. Do we have 2 5ths?
We do.
Paulson Adebo is a free agent. Calais Campbell, Dante Fowler. Is there anyone else I'm missing?
No.
Okay. All right. So Chris Olave, Paulson Paulson Adebo, Trey Henderson, Calais Campbell, Dante Fowler. I think that's a pretty damn good free agency clip there. And those are viable names. Like maybe the Bills can get 3 of 5. I mean, I don't know. But shit, let's keep it moving. So all right, I think we've done enough damage. Unless you could think of anything else we need to get in free agency right now. We can kind of go through the draft to see how it plays out, and if we need to add anybody, we can kind of do that. What do you think?
Let me take a look. We filled wide receiver. We filled defensive line, edge, linebacker. We can do in the draft. Safety. I don't know if there's really anybody that I'm super interested in free agency. I mean, Jeremy Chin, the Bills really love Jeremy Chin. He was a top 30 visit for Brandon Beane.
Right.
And they were looking at him to sign him last year. He ended up signing with the Commanders. So they could sign. He had a really good year with the Commanders, but I would assume they'll probably try to sign him back. Maybe keep that on the back burner.
Sure.
But I think he would be, he's super athletic safety. I think he's a great option for them. But we'll put that on the back burner, and maybe, just maybe, if we don't get what we want in the draft, we can kind of revisit that.
All right, so real quick in the chat, RJ Melville, that's my dog. He's on board with Chris Olave. Pat Q34 says get Devin Duvernay. I mean, I don't know if we have a need for Devin Duvernay. I mean, I kind of see where you're going with that. So yeah, if you guys have anything else you want to throw in the chat, by all means do. We want to definitely interact with you guys. So right now, our biggest needs, if we got Chris Olave, I mean, these guys, we really don't have a massive need going into the draft. And I think that's probably a good place to be in, where you don't have like these pressing holes that you have to. So we kind of filled them already. So I think we can bring up the mock draft simulator, and we can kind of see what we can come up with. So we'll do it with 2.
How many rounds do you want to do?
Let's go all 7, baby.
All 7 rounds. Okay.
Yeah. So 19 mil. So we need to kind of finish with at least 7 left in reserve. So if we need to see what kind of falls to us, we can kind of look at some free agents to kind of fill out the roster at the end.
Perfect.
All right. So real quick, Shedeur Sanders, man, like, do you think it's a what do you call it? A smear job by NFL teams saying things about him and not putting their full name on it, saying things about him in the process, that he's like just nonchalant and just too arrogant and stuff like that? Do you think they're just trying to drive his stock down? Maybe the Raiders could be in on this.
I don't know. I mean, the tough part is, if you're an NFL GM when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot more question marks than there is with like a Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Right. Because Cam Ward's got all the arm talent. He can move. He can get out of the pocket. And I think the big thing with Shedeur is you don't have the arm talent there. He's definitely limited in arm strength. He's got questionable pocket awareness. And the biggest thing for me, if we're being fair, is you have to deal with Dion, and damn well if like people already don't want to deal with like the backlash of like, if a decision's made, it's like every once in a while you have to deal with the parents and like their vocal and stuff like that. Like there was talk about like Kyer Elam's dad was like kind of out there talking about how he didn't use the displeasure of not getting played. Right. Dion's got a bigger platform, right? So if Shedeur isn't being utilized the right way, or he thinks the GM's not doing the right thing, or whatever that might be, you have Dion and you're gonna have to deal with that. I think there's GMs that there's just I really feel like there's trepidation about going with a guy like him, because it's one thing like if you had like Arch Manning, right? You're going to get all the family and the fanfare that goes like the Manning stuff. Like there's gonna be a lot that comes with that, a lot of baggage. But Arch Manning looks like one of the best raw true prospects since like Andrew Luck. Like he's got everything you could ask for. All the arm talent. He's, his ability to go through progressions, read a field, comprehend football. Like he's got every aspect of a quarterback that you want. So it's easier to manufacture or handle that. And it's the same thing like CJ Stroud, right? Like CJ Stroud, super heady quarterback, had all the arm talent. If he had Dion as a dad, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But the problem is, like, if you don't have the talent to back up what you're going to be dealing with, a baggage, some GMs just don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like,
I can see that.
do you think that, like I personally said, and this is my hot take.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think value wise that you could go ahead and get, why am I blanking on his name? Syracuse's quarterback. I'm
Kyle
so
McCord.
tired. Kyle McCord. Thank you. Value wise, you're going to get more from Kyle McCord than you would Shador Sanders.
Oh, dog. I don't know, bruh. That's. I mean, listen.
Kyle's not. He's
Kyle
not going to
as
run out of the pocket, but he's got
QB4.
athletic quarterback arm. His arm is supremely more talented than Shador Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, Shador doesn't have. I mean, you know, Shador. I think he's very accurate, but I don't see him throwing with, you know, the velocity and some of the arm talent angle wise as like.
He's also accurate because a lot of his passes were close to the line of scrimmage, right? So you have to take that into account too.
Okay, why you hate Shador?
I don't hate Shador. I think he's a very talented quarterback. But if we're going to be fair, like people are talking about like trading up to get him. I'm not trading up in this draft to get anybody. Specifically, I'm not doing it for. If I'm going to trade up, Cam Ward is the only one I'm going after. And I watched a lot of Cam because he's in the ACC with Syracuse.
I've watched the film on both of those guys, and I like Shador. I don't like the braggadocious attitude, and like I think as you know the franchise guy, I mean you need to have some swag, but I just think like it's just a little too much. It's like resting on his dad's laurels, like Dion, but Dion didn't necessarily come in the league that way. He kind of just established himself and just became this persona. I feel like Shador's doing it, wants to be the persona, but necessarily, bro, you didn't win the Big 12. And I know that offensive line, and there's different reasons. I mean, I am proud of what they were able to do out here in Boulder, but I don't know, man. I just think you need to be a little bit more humble. And basically you're doing a job interview, and I get you got to be yourself, but I think there's a balance, right? But I mean, he has a great touch on a deep ball. Like I really do like his ball placement. Shador is a good prospect. If I was a quarterback needy team, I'm not trading up for him. And I feel the same way about Cam Ward. I'm not trading up for Cam Ward. I mean, I think, you know, if you look at last year, like JJ McCarthy, if he was in this year's class, not just because he's a Michigan guy, he'd be the top quarterback, hands down. It's not even close. So I'm not trading up for either one of those guys. So yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on that because, you know, I mean, I want Shador to succeed, but I do want him to chill out a little bit with all the antics, man. Like, you know, like I understand you want to be yourself, bro, but I don't know, man. There's a better way to do it if you ask me. So let's get into this mock draft, dog. Let's do it.
Absolutely. So obviously going into this, we had talked last week. We did a mock draft. It was just straight up as we take it. We will potentially look at trades here to see, and this is full on 7 rounds as to what the best option for the Bills. We know what we filled. Obviously, we still need another defensive tackle to get young. We need probably a linebacker because Matt Milano, who knows how much longer we have with him. You need a safety because, I mean, Tomorrow's probably gone. Now you're talking about Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp, Cam Lewis.
Yeah.
Not super confident in that group. I liked Cole Bishop, but again, there's a lot left to be kind of, you're waiting on things to kind of evolve. I like Taylor Rapp, but again, another one of those guys that there's meat left on the bone. So, okay, this is a great group of guys right here. We really lucked out.
Boy.
So let's take a look real quick at what happened in the first round. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Armand Membu, Ashton Genty goes to the Patriots. That's a lot of fun. Abdul Carter falls to 5.
Ooh, that's a great place for him to go, man. Jeez.
Yeah, Abdul Carter one side and Joshua Hines Allen on the other. That's awesome. But I do wonder what they would do with Trayvon. So that's interesting.
Trayvon Walker's a damn good defensive end too.
He is.
I mean, if
you could move Trayvon to a 3 tech though, if you really wanted to. I think he's big enough to fit that role.
Yeah, but he played so well on the outside. I wouldn't fuck with it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, but you also can't pass up Abdul Carter either.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe you try to trade one of them. But Mason Graham, Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green,
Okay.
Tet McMillan, man, talk Chicago, man, talk about weapons. Holy shit.
Don't you think that would be a little redundant though? Taking Tet there.
I mean, the nice thing is at this point, Keenan Allen's gone, so maybe you move DJ Moore into the slot. I think that fits him fine. And then you have Tet McMillan on one side. I think that's okay.
And a Dunze. Yeah,
I think that's okay. Or you could even put a Dunze in the middle if you really wanted to. Or if you really wanted to, Tet McMillan could play it could be a big slot too.
Yeah,
I think
I'd rather have him on the outside.
Rotate.
Yeah, he's shown that he can win on the outside consistently. Odunze probably be best in the slot, and DJ Moore, I think he's very versatile. So you got your slew of guys. You do need some speed though. I think they probably would want some deep speed there, but
certainly
Ted at 10, that's not bad.
Yeah, Jahad Campbell, okay. That's disgusting. Will Campbell, Jahdae Barron, Tyler Warren, Donovan Ezeriku, Nick Emenwari.
Oh, man.
Nasty. Buda Baker and Nick Emenwari. That's a great tandem. Josh Simmons, Jalen Walker, Will Johnson. Man, talk about that. Will Johnson. Holy cow.
With that secondary, that'd be nasty.
They lose Carlton and they add Will Johnson. That's great. Malachi Starks. Holy cow. Awesome secondary right there. Tyler Booker, Emeka Buka. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great fit for him. And I do like the Tyler Booker move there. The Steelers, they need more help on that offensive line.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've had a stud offensive line, so that's going to help. Matt Golden in Green Bay, another weapon for Jordan Love. Kenneth Grant for Minnesota. That defense is already nasty. You have Kenneth Grant next to our guy, Kyle Williams 2.0. Colston Loveland, that's great right there. I think the Texans need all the help they can get. Kelvin Banks, James Pierce, God, that's disgusting. Nick Scorton and Jaden Higgins. Man, talk about rising up the boards. Jaden Higgins in the first.
He got played himself in the first round.
So the Bills are in a good spot here. A lot of really nice options. Luther Burden, a gadget pseudo kind of Deebo Samuel type of guy. Derek Harmon, who is, perfect fit for this defense. Darius Alexander, who is rising up the draft boards. Yeah. Walter Nolan, we had a conversation about him. I'm not super high on him. Omari and Hampton. Man, that'd be disgusting adding Omari and Hampton to this team. I don't know if they do it, but it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. No, and then my guy right here, Tyleek Williams.
Tyleek is there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to hear my Luther Burden comp? Is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers.
Okay.
Zay Flowers. I mean, listen, in my opinion, and I wrapped up my film on him last week. I think he's the best wide receiver in the class. I really do. I think he's the best wide receiver in the class. And he had some parts around him last year at Missouri that didn't necessarily go his way, and so the production was down, but like watching the tape, I mean, the route running, bro, and the speed and working down stem and just after catch, man. I mean, the guy, he just pops off the screen every single play. I really, really, really enjoyed watching Luther Burden. So, if he's there, I would like the Bills to take him. But, shit.
But how do you pass up on Derek Harmon there too?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got Calais Campbell. We need defensive tackle. We need a defensive tackle. I like Derek Harmon, but you know what, man? I mean, Darius Alexander probably. I mean, I wouldn't say Derek Harmon's. How much better is Derek Harmon than Darius Alexander?
Probably not much. I think they're pretty equal.
That's tough. I do think Derek Harmon is more disruptive, but I do feel like, Darius has more. He's more toolsy. I think he's more of a complete defensive tackle. If that makes sense, he gives you more. But I do think in terms of a game record between the two, I think Derek Harmon probably gets the edge for me there.
Okay, you could trade back. Jacksonville wants to trade up from 36. I think there is enough guys here that if you trade back, you could end up with one of them. If you really want Luther Burden, we can go Luther Burden. It wouldn't hurt me at all. I mean, the idea of having, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel as your top four is incredibly intriguing.
Man, I mean, just think about it. You get a Luther Bird in here, that's your deep speed, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to rely necessarily on Olave and Samuel just because their injury history. I think you're hedging yourself there. We got Trey Henderson. We still got Greg Rousseau. I think it lessens the need of a defensive end with the first.
And I do
pick.
wonder if you get Trey Hendrickson and Calais Campbell, if they feel less inclined to have to push in the first round.
Right. So I say I mean, if there was a cornerback here we liked, but for the value,
first corner is until Trey Amos at 40.
and he's somebody that I'm looking at. So I say we go Luther Burden here. I think that's the right smart move here.
Okay. I like it. Shedeur Sanders, man, all the way down to the second round.
Oh, wow. So I guess the Raiders said no. RJ says we forgot to bring back Mac Hollins. No, we didn't forget to bring him back. I think, with what we have, I don't think we need Mac anymore. Alfred, Big A, man. I like Alfred Collins, right there. Dude. Right? Yep. That's the guy we need right there, bro.
I think it's an easy pick.
Easy. We talk about, a two-gapping big defensive tackle, right? Physical, has pass rush upside. Alfred Collins is the pick there, man. I love that pick.
Oh, look, there's your guy, Jack Sawyer. I'm kidding. I know I don't like him at all.
Yeah, no, that's not my guy. Xavier Restrepo is still available. Wow. We do need corner help though. We need something.
There's Darian Porter from Iowa, Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, your guy Josiah Stewart, right there. So different options. Cam Scatabo, if you want to take a running back, I don't, but you could.
No, I'm good on that. I think he's a limited athlete, man. I'm just not. And
Kyle Kennard's also an option too, by the way. Really good defensive end.
Okay. So we got we only got rid of our 5th round pick. So let's say we got a what did we get? Who do we get so far? We got a wide receiver and a defensive tackle.
Yep.
I mean, shit, we really don't have a lot of needs, right? I want somebody toolsy, man, I want a toolsy guy here. Scroll up.
I do agree with RJ that Mac might be worth just because of what he does on special teams as well. And you could probably get him for like $2 million.
Yeah, I mean,
as wide receiver 7, I think
I ain't mad at it. I just think we can bring him back after the draft, after we see how this all plays out,
Right.
Scroll up. Who's available? Who's the top? Okay.
Demetrius Knight.
We don't need that. Sheesh. Darian Porter? Or if we go cornerback here, Benjamin Morrison, I think, fits the zone defense very well.
We're going to be moving more towards a man cover scheme.
Right. So he needs to be able to do both. So I mean,
he can play. It says right here, his short area movements are explosive, which allows him to play press man. Mirror releases inside out and transition from back pedal to full stride seamlessly. He's got the size, 6 foot, 190. So I mean, ideal size for the scheme.
I like that. I think he's as a scheme fit. And Notre Dame played a lot of man coverage in the back end last year. So let's go with Benjamin Morrison here.
Okay.
Damn, we're cleaning up, buddy.
I like it. I like it a lot. Now we do got to take those 2 5th-round picks and send them packing, obviously, because we did use both of them for trades. So I'm going to go ahead once we get to us. I'm going to speed this up so these people watching aren't going to be here all night because it's already 9 o'clock.
I know, right? We're killing it, dog.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make a trade. And
so while you're doing that, so we got.
Who did we trade with? What were the 2 trades?
So our 2 trades, we got Chris Olave with the 5th,
Saints.
and then we got Trey Hendrickson.
Okay.
So we have competition for Paulson Adebo with the draft pick, Morrison out of Notre Dame. We probably should get another young defensive end that we can that's probably our next need there.
Wait, that's not a 4th. This is a 4th or 5th, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 171. Correct.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
171.
Okay.
Did you force it or did you accept the trade?
I forced it.
Okay. I was like, yo.
Okay. And then the other one was the Bengals for
Trey
Trey
Hendrickson.
Hendrickson. Perfect. And that's 175. Okay. Perfect.
All right. So I think we need to be looking for defensive end. Oh, Andrew McCuba's there. Oh,
I was just going to say, yep. And Jonas Sanker.
Jonas Sanker.
Yeah. A couple options. Jacob Parrish, Kamon Rucker.
I'm good on him.
Aeneas Peebles, Kobe Bryant. I think Andrew McCuba is a really good option.
You can't pass that up, bro. He's a ball hawking safety, man. Came on strong last year. I like his explosion. I think he has a very high football IQ. I like Andrew McCuba.
Perfect. Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll draft Andrew McCuba out of Texas.
Got 2 Texas
Get to our next picks. Yeah. Okay. Now we are into pick 131. What do we do here? What do we need to fill? Do we go ahead and get a quarterback? Do we get a running back? What do you think the best course is in this point of the draw?
I mean, oh man, it's tough. I do like Jack Kaiser. I think, again, we're not here. We don't have to draft for need, but I do think it's linebacker is a sneaky need in terms of, you can't really rely on Balen Spector. Milano is a ticking time bomb. I mean, you just don't know. You can't just count on his health. I like Jack Kaiser. Jaquez Hunter is a speedy running back. Khalil Mullings gives you some pop in terms of he's a big physical bruising back who can give you some help in pass protection. Right. But Jarquez Hunter's fast, man. He's got some juice.
Might be the move to make. We need a good running back here. He'd fit that James Cook role if we ended up getting rid of James Cook. And then you got him. You got Jarquez Hunter and Ray Davis with Ty Johnson backing them up.
Yeah. RJ asked if Kaiser more of a middle linebacker or outside linebacker. I think he's more of a middle linebacker to me. And the Bills kind of asked their guys to be interchangeable. At that, you want matchup style linebackers. I think he could do that. Now, I do feel like he could be better in pass coverage, but he doesn't have to step into the role. It's kind of like what they did, with Dorian Williams. I think Jack can kind of, in year 2 or 3, kind of take a big leap there. But if that answers your question. So, yeah, I think we need to go running back here. I think Jarquez Hunter will be pretty solid move.
Okay. I love it. Okay, so our next 2 picks are obviously gone because of the trades that we made, but let's go ahead and look who it is.
Kyle McCord.
My boy.
Tyler Show. Okay, let's have a conversation about quarterback here. Kyle McCord and Tyler Show, I think, are rising up draft boards. Tyler Show is more archetype, similar to Josh Allen. Big, strong arm quarterback. I do like him. I like him a lot here. Kyle McCord, man, like the dude he just doesn't give a shit. Like, he don't care what you think about him. He's going to come in, he's going to lead your football team, and he's going to, I think I think Tyler Show has more upside, but I do feel like Kyle McCord gives you, like, Kyle McCord ain't going to be a starter. I think he's a backup quarterback, right? Like,
the only difference is that Kyle is 22 and Tyler's 25.
Yeah. So and I mean, that's not too bad. So I mean, if you're looking at longevity and what, Kyle McCord, I think he's a great locker room dude. I mean, let's talk about it real quick. You had Ohio State pretty much like tarnished that man's name.
Badly.
And they kind of kicked him to the curb and blamed the Michigan loss
Will
on
Howard,
him,
who looked terrible in the combine. Yeah,
like, no, bro, like Kyle McCord should have been your quarterback this year. but you know that there, I don't even want to say the man's name out loud. The head coach for Ohio State, he's always trying to pass the buck to somewhere. So they pass it on him, and look what he did for Syracuse, man. That dude, he was the best Syracuse quarterback in decades, bro.
Oh, he's the best quarterback since probably Donovan McNabb.
Absolutely. So you know what? Let's take the Syracuse kid, man.
Love it.
Even though we don't have to, but let's do it. I mean, shit, we could probably get rid of White, or put him on the practice squad. But we do need to take. We do need to take a. Ooh, I do like Arnold there for USC, but we do need to find a defensive end. Like it's a need. We need to get a defensive end here. We got to take a young guy, see if we can develop. Who's available here?
Not a good spot for him.
I know we're just gonna...
The closest one would be Fidel Diggs from Syracuse, Ethan Downs, Johnny Walker. Fidel Diggs is actually really fun, but I don't want to just go Syracuse for the sake of it.
6'5", 261 production.
Let's see what else we got in terms of the best player available. A lot of quarterbacks. I wish we hadn't gone running back. LaQuint Allen is awesome. Awesome. Really good running back. But a lot of Syracuse guys. Elijah Clark.
Jake Majors is there. We don't need a center. We don't need offensive lineman.
No.
Ricky
CJ
White
Dupree is a fun little blocking.
Yeah. Was he 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah.
Kind of reminds you of Quentin Morris.
Yeah.
Man, Ty Felton is there. Ricky White is a baller, bro. I do like Ricky White, wide receiver out of UNLV. Turn on the Michigan tape. He had a good game there. Let's see.
Oh, there you go, baby. There's your replacement tight end for Quentin Morris.
Rondé Gadsden. Man, we can't take all these Syracuse players.
We've only taken one, if we're being fair.
We took a couple in our mock last week. I don't care,
but you also have to remember, if they're gonna see anybody, they're gonna see a lot of Syracuse because of it's being right down the turnpike.
Yeah, I don't care. No. Call it.
Okay, let's go around to Gadsden.
We're
doing it. We can get a defensive end after.
Yeah,
perfect. Not a lot of options at defensive end.
We might. You know, we let's go cornerback, bro. Because
corner. Okay.
Yeah, because I when in doubt, go corner.
Okay. Jason Marshall Jr. Let me get rid of the defensive ends real quick. Fentrell Cypress, Tommy Hill, Mac McWilliams,
Cam Miller. Simmons. Oh, I like Cam Miller.
Okay.
Another Penn State guy. Cam Miller's solid, bro.
Well, 30 receptions for 351 yards, passer rating of 100 this year.
And they put their guys on islands, man, over at Penn State. They put their DBs on islands. He's not the most athletic trait guy. Jason Marshall, 6'1". That's not bad, actually.
Only allowed 10 receptions for 173 yards.
I do like the length there.
Yeah.
SEC.
I'm a little scared about Florida.
Well, I know Kyrie Elam screwed it up for everybody, but they have a history of putting out good cornerbacks. Let's take the Florida boy.
Which one?
Jason Marshall. Let's take him. You know, I mean, we take a flyer on him in the 6th round. That's not bad.
There we go.
Cornerback with traits.
And that's it.
All right, let's see how they grade us, man.
We ended up.
Oh, we smacked this draft, dog.
A-.
We smacked this draft, bro. That is your that's it right there. So we got Luther Burden in the first, Alfred Collins in the second, Benjamin Morrison in the second round. Then in the 4th round, we got Andrew Makuba, ball hawking safety. In the 4th round, we got some juice at running back with Jarquez Hunter. We got our quarterback 2 for the future in Kyle McCord. And then we took his teammate Rondé Gadsden in the 2nd to compete for tight end number 3. And then, you know, we kind of wrapped it up and took a cornerback. I think when in doubt, go corner. Jason Marshall Jr., traits upside. I love that. Man, this has been a phenomenal mock-off season. Just to review here, in free agency, we got Chris Olave, with the 5th round trade. We took Paulson Adebo to be our CB2. Trey Hendrickson, that's our big money move here. We traded him with the 5th, gave him a new contract. Calais Campbell to kind of round out our defensive tackle room, and Dante Fowler to be defensive end 3 or 4. We did not get and then we got Alfred Collins. So we kind of filled all the holes here, man. Like no Diddy, but we got everything that we needed in this draft and free agency. Now, with that being said, we're not going to be able to see all. I mean, Brandon, there's no way. Like, there's 31 other teams that are going to be competing for these players. But realistically, Paulson Adebo, I could see something. Olave, Trey Hendrickson, Calais Campbell. I mean, it's not crazy. This is not a crazy, like, hot takey off-season free agency pool here. And then in the draft, I think we cleaned house. I think it's way better if you go into the draft with needs already taken care of, and then you can kind of pick the best player available. And that's kind of what we just did. Any remarks on that, TD?
No, I think we hit all the spots. I feel like we added some good veterans, which I think is a positive thing on a Super Bowl contending team. You don't want to go too young. I like the guys we added. I think Calais Campbell was a great addition. I've loved Calais for a long time. I think even at his age, he's still an impactful player. I love Trey Hendrickson. I think his juice opposite of Greg Rousseau with Ed Oliver and Calais Campbell would be a super fun group right there. And then in the secondary, having, Paulson Adebo opposite of Christian Benford, and then a safety room of, whether it's Taylor Rapp or, Cole Bishop, and then, Andrew Makuba potentially stepping right in and being that other safety. I think that's a great spot. And then on offense, I mean, exciting stuff, having, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Luther Burden, and then you still have your tight ends. I think you're in a really good spot with Josh Allen, a good running back room. Obviously, we added Jarquez Hunter, and, he'll potentially get to sit there as running back 4. But I think we're in a really good spot. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think if you take a step back and see what we were able to do, you filled the holes that were necessary, and you still have some wiggle room for guys like Matt Collins for bringing back potential, maybe guys that are cut late in training camp because they didn't fit on a team. So I think they're in a really good spot. This is going to be a tough roster. We drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 8's a great number. I don't know if 10's going to make the roster.
I agree. I agree.
It's not for the Bills team, even with the holes we have. The Bills still have plenty depth. So I think it's a really, really good group that we were able to find.
And I think, draft wise, I think 5 or 6 is probably like the baseline, right? And if you have 8, that's totally fine too. But yeah, a 10 is too many. So I mean, I think as we'll see in the draft, I don't think Brandon Means is going to take 8 rookies. I think that number is probably 5 or 6. But for educational purposes tonight, I think if you go in there and you fill all your needs, and then you get some young exciting prospects, Kyle McCord. I mean, who knows? You could probably flip him for if he turns into something. Jason Marshall. I mean, shit. I mean, this is our off season, man. This is our off season. We probably should tweet this out.
I will.
Yeah.
You give me all the names that all the free agents we picked up, and I'll tweet this out with the draft. And yeah, I really like what we did here. And I think it's not crazy to think that the Bills could go in that same direction. I think that there's a nice group of free agents available out there for the Bills. I think that Brandon Beane will make some moves to open up some space. And I think they're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Again, this roster was just in the AFC Championship, and I don't think there's a ton of tweaks needed to be made. I think if they make a concerted effort to find the right quality players, I think this team could take that next step. Because I think the Chiefs are going to progress this year. They're losing some key pieces. I think I'm not scared of the Ravens. The Bengals are going to be terrible. I don't think the Texans are going to be all that good again. I mean, that's a lot to expect out of that team in year 3.
Yep.
So I think that the Bills are right there to, again, run this back to potentially take another run at, and what better, and I tweeted this out the other day, what a better time than for the Bills to potentially win the Super Bowl in the last year in their current stadium.
That would be crazy. And the roster we just put together, I mean, that's a hell of a roster, bro. I mean, and last year was a down year, right? It was a
Right.
down year, and we made it to the AFC Championship game with this roster, man. And I mean, we just need a couple of these rookies to hit and show some juice in year one. I think
Right.
Luther Burden, Alfred Collins, Benjamin Morrison. I think just those three alone pushes that up there. So I'm really happy with this. I mean, obviously, this is our first iteration of this, and as free agency continues next week, you know, we'll be locked and loaded here. I'll be hopping online and do a free agency show for you guys. So we'll keep it locked and loaded right here, man. We're going to have stuff for you all off season. These next 2 months are going to be hell of a lot of good fun. So we'll keep it locked and loaded, man. And with that being said, TD, another episode. Go Bills, and we out of here. See ya.
Hot on the mic, bringing it straight from Western New York to the world. This is Charge with Thomas and Sterling. Bills Mafia, stand tall and proud. We got this.